Okay, so in this video, we're going to teach you how to automate this, how to build it into a Python script, and how to automate this for folks who want to either start a website or have automated FireWxPy Graphics for their office's operations. So the first thing we're going to do to save time is we have our Jupyter Notebook open from the last video that we made where we showed you how to download the data outside the function, pass it in to limit the amount of data requests at the server and make a bunch of plots. So first thing, we're going to start a new launcher, but instead of this IPY kernel, we're going to want a regular Python file, so a .py file extension. So we're going to select this option here, and we're just going to copy and paste these different cells here. So here's our imports, then here's our times, then here's our data access, and finally here's our graphics, our plots. Okay, so we're going to save this file as, instead of untitled, we'll say RTMA AER graphics.py, because we have RTMA graphics, Anchorage East domain, and graphics. So it's a good practice to kind of name your files what you're plotting. So in this case, RTMA data for the Anchorage Eastern domain. So we're going to save that, and we'll just hit discard there. So we have our file saved right here. Okay. So now we're going to want to open up our folder. So we want to go here, then here. We want to be here. So in C, users Eric Drewitz, because that's where our script is currently saved to. So now we're going to go to Start. We're going to go to Windows, Task, Scheduler, or I guess Task Scheduler. So that option right there. Okay, so here's you see our tasks. One disclaimer I want to say before we get started is I'm working on a government PC, so I don't have privileges to do certain things with the automation. So I will set up the automation. At first, I'll walk you through how I would do this on a personal computer if I want to automate this for a website, or if I did have the admin privileges where I can have scripts running even when I'm signed off. And then I'll just automate it. Just I'll then input it the way that I have privileges for on this machine, which is not the way, like I said, it's not the way I recommend you do if you're trying to have constantly automated graphics, but just to show you the task popping up in here. So these are where we have our tasks. So we want to do, we want to create a new task. So on your right, we want to hit create task. So we want to name our task. So I like to name the tasks as similar to what we're doing. So RTMA AER. Okay. So one thing that I cannot do on a government computer that I recommend you do on a personal computer, or if you do have admin access on a government computer, select this option for run whether user is logged in or not. Do not check this box, actually. Then when you click OK, you'll have a prompt to enter your password or your PIN number, and it'll keep it there. And then that's how you have it saved. That's how you have it run while you're stepped away. If you click this and it logs you out, your script won't run. So you want to have this checked with this unchecked. Also, it's good to check with run with the highest privileges. Also, I like to configure for Windows 10 just because that's the latest OS that they have. Now, I don't know if I can have this checked, and I know I can't have this checked on the government computer, so we'll leave that like this for now. But like I said, if you have privileges, or if you're doing this on a personal computer starting a website, this is what you want. So we're going to go back to this and to this. So triggers. So we want to hit new. And there should be, we're not responding. Okay, here we go. So this is where we want to schedule for when do we want the task to start and how frequent do we want the task to run. So one really important thing to know when you do this is how frequent your data will update. So RTMA data updates every hour. So we're going to run this every hour. So starting this, let's see, 1/17/2025, 12/11. So basically starting it immediately. That's fine. You don't need to change anything here. So repeat task every hour. So this is where you would select for how long, how frequent you want it to update. You could also type it in. So like if you want 6 hours, for example, since that's not an option in the drop down, you can manually type it in there. That's fine. We'll set it back to 1 hour. Here, how long do you want the tasks to run? I like indefinitely because that means it'll always run. If you do for 1 day, it'll run. So if you have it set like this, it'll run every hour for the duration of 1 day. And then after 1 day, you won't have it running anymore and you'll have to go in and update this. So I like indefinitely. And so then we'll click OK. Now we want our actions and we want to select new. So this tells you we want our action to be start a program. There's other things you can do, but anything with FireWxPy start a program, that's what we want. So this is where we basically tell the computer where's our environment and where is the file and the directory that the file's in. So to start off, we're going to use our Anaconda prompt. Okay, and so we have our Anaconda prompt. Now we want to type where Python. This shows you where our Python environment is. Actually, one thing I need to do quickly first is we're in our base environments. We want to activate our test1 environment, which is where we ran, which is where Anaconda activates test1, because that's where we have our FireWxPy installed. That's where we created our script before. So now when I go in and type where Python, you'll now see we have this up here. This is our Anaconda environment. So we're going to want to copy this whole thing and we're going to want to paste that in here. Okay. Now our add arguments, that is going to be the file name. So why isn't, oh, it's coming up on the other screen. That's why everything pops up on the other screen. So we'll just, we'll copy this. So I like to just do this, Control C, and now we'll minimize that and we'll do this and just add a .py. And then last but not least, the start in, that is where, that is up here. That is the path to the directory, the path to the file. So we have our Anaconda environment here, our file that we want to execute here, and the path to that file here, minus the file name, because that's here. So now we click OK. Conditions, I like to personally uncheck these to check this. Uncheck that and then check that. So that way we could have make sure things constantly run. I like to personally uncheck these and check these. Hit OK. So now we see our task is here. Okay, so now our task is scheduled. And let's run the task. So before we run the task, I want to show you operation completed successfully 0/0. That is what you want. That is everything is working fine. The 0/1, that means there's an error somewhere. So this is not anything we set up, but since I see that code there, that's good to show you because that's an error. And this task is not yet run. So let's run it. So we have our task running. We'll hit refresh. It says the task is currently running. And we had this pop-up of this window on the other side. And now you can see on here the print statements from what we saw back over in our Jupyter notebook. The same print statements are now showing up here. So we have our data retrieved, yada yada yada. And so you see we have our already satisfied because we already ran it for the first time. So we imported the shape files. We already built our directory in our previous video when we did this all in a Jupyter notebook. And so we're going to start to make our images and save our images. So unpack the data, create an image, everything's working fine. We have our paths already exist because we did that on the first time run in our last video, which was by mistake because I was supposed to do it in the Python project folder, but that's beside the point. So now we have our image saved to the path. And so let's go back to our image. So we're going to go into our weather data, our RTMA. And as you remember, I'll show you the 24-hour comparison really quick before that updates. So to show you really quick, before we ran this, and it was from 11:40 our local time, so 11:40 Pacific time. So that was the time that our Jupyter notebook ran in our last video. We're doing these videos back to back. And so now, if we go here, you'll see 12:16. So we updated our image. We updated our graphics. And then for completeness sake, we'll wait for this. So we just saved and the program ran successfully because our command prompt window closed. Let's go back to our other graphic now and show you that updated. 12:18, that's up to date, that's updated. And then now we'll go back to here. We'll refresh this. The operation completed successfully, 00. That's what we want. Now for completeness sake, since this is a government computer, I don't want to keep this task up here. We will end the task, end all instances, yes. And then we will delete it. So we will delete this task. And now that task is gone. Just to keep this clean here. But you don't need to do that on the machine that you plan on automating it for, whether it's a personal machine for a website or a machine that has admin privileges. If you want to, bring these graphics onto a government website. But that is how you automate a Python script in a Windows task scheduler. If you're using a Linux or a Mac OS, I believe you would use a cron job for this. There's plenty of tutorials out there on how to use cron, but since we use Windows, that's how you do it in the Windows Task Scheduler. I hope you all found this video useful and you like this video. Please always remember, like, comment, subscribe for more content.